everybody, welcome back to a new video by the Art History Society. My name's Devon Vander Voort and I am the SCAD Art History Society president, and I'm here with Dr. Carr today. And we are at the Heyward House Historic Center in Bluffton, South Carolina, where I work as a museum assistant. So we're just going to be talking about the museum's climate during coronavirus and also just about the Heyward House and how I've integrated it into my curriculum.
Absolutely. And so those of you watching will notice that we are safely socially distanced. We also have our masks handy because the coronavirus pandemic certainly has impacted the way that we live, work, and think about being in these museum spaces. And so the Heyward House, I think, really has a well thought out strategy for keeping the workers and the artifacts safe at this really uncertain time. So do you want to talk a little bit about the sort of protocol on a day-to-day basis?
So right now the Heyward House isn't open to the public. We also act as a welcome center, so there are maps and brochures and you can still find information on the town here, but our doors are closed. So we have posted homeschool videos for people to access on the YouTube so that you can still learn about the collection and the house. And we don't have a tentative reopening date, but when we do have practices that we've put in place, and we sanitize frequently even though it is just employees here currently. And we also have plans for restarting the walking tours and doing those, because those you can be socially distanced for. So we got a new system where you can wear the recorder and then you can put headphones in and you can hear them from pretty far away. So that's definitely something that we have going too for right now.
And I think one of the things that might be of interest to your peers or professors who would be watching this is hearing a little bit more about the way that your being in this place right now is kind of the culmination of an arc. You know, here you are, you're president of the Art History Society, but a year ago, you were in a very different position indeed. So if memory serves, you were getting ready for the fall quarter, and one of the classes that you were taking, I'm very pleased to say, was my museum leadership class. And early on in the quarter, when we were looking at the scope of assignment, you actually pinpointed in really early on about a potential opportunity to interact with this very site where we are right now.
Right. So for Dr. Carr's class, we had to pick a site and do a report on it and talk about different things like accessibility and just basically talking about the purpose of the site and how it was as a visitor experience went. So I wanted to choose the Heyward House because it's in Bluffton and it was a little further away, and I kind of wanted to go explore that and get out of the scope of Savannah museums, as vast as they are, and come here. So I did my presentation on this house, and it was really interesting and different because it is a different state and it is very different from Savannah, just being here, and even though it's still the low country region. So I did my project on that, and then a few months ago I had an email from Dr. Carr, and she forwarded me from the CMA, the Coastal Museums Association listserv, a job by the Heyward House. So I was coming back to Savannah from being in quarantine and at home, and then I said, well, this, I really loved that site, so I applied for the job, and that was probably in the beginning of June. So it's all worked out since then.
So I think it's been this really remarkable 12-month cycle, a 12-month period of time that none of us would have anticipated when we were looking forward to fall 2019. But I think that Devon's story and the way that she has managed to circle back around to this place at this very unusual time and really make a difference in the type of work that can happen even when visitors are not coming into the house. It really shows us that museums might not be open to visitors in quite the same way, but they are still very much viable and vital organizations. And one of the things that you were showing earlier, and perhaps we can take a look at as part of interview round 2, is that really wonderful case of materials that you curated and put together. And certainly having artifacts out in the open is more challenging when you're trying to juggle tour accessibility. So I think that many museums are really taking it as an opportunity to sort of roll up their collective sleeves and do some of those housekeeping activities that are harder to accomplish in other times.
Yeah, so it definitely has been really rewarding from that standpoint, because like we've been able to do the display case and redo it, and me and my coworker are able to, we took everything out, and it was, you know, we put it on paper on the floor, and we really spread out and used the entire house, and we went through the rooms obsessively looking for what we could pick and put in there and things like that. So that we couldn't have been able to do that with visitors. So I think as being a new employee, it is different than what they typically would do with a new employee, but it has been really great. And from a learning standpoint, I've just learned so much. And I think that also we just did, we put our archives, some of them online, so surname files of people that have been living in Bluffton. So those are online now, and we digitized all of them and put them up. So that was something that was really time consuming for my boss, and we were able to help her finish that up. So I think that was really interesting, and we had time to really get down and do it. So that was really fantastic.
Absolutely, and digital access to historic materials in many ways is ideal because you don't have a lot of hands handling those documents that are already very old.
Right.
And so I think one more thing that you might share with us is how your academic and professional interests haven't just taken you around the Savannah and Bluffton area in the Low Country, but how you'll also be virtually participating in the Southeast Museums Conference Student Work in Museums track as well, which is something else that is related to your work in the Art History Department, in particular the Museum Studies program. And they don't accept just anyone to this session at a very significant regional conference. So you might talk a little bit about the focus for that event too. Yeah,
so that proposal that I submitted to SEMC was about an exhibition that I came up with the education materials for museum education that I took in the spring of 2020. So I took that class online, and I was still able to pull out of it a very significant project. So I submitted that, and really the focus was on the Don Bluth collection of animation that the SCAD Museum has, and I focused on the movie An American Tale. And An American Tale deals a lot with immigration. You see Feifel, the little mouse, coming to America. So there's a lot of things now that we can think of, especially when I was thinking about this project, is the current border crisis. So I really wanted to create a dialogue talking about the history that you see in that movie and the imagery, because you go through the mice, they go through Castle Island, and then so you can talk about that was a real place that people went through prior to Ellis Island. And then I talked about the current border crisis, and I included resources for people that felt like they need to know their rights. So I had that in the exhibition brochure. And then another focus that I really have been trying to put on all my projects is a focus on sustainability. So all of the brochures that I had, I wanted them to be printed on sustainable paper. So recycled paper, soy-based inks, things like that. And then I had a worksheet that I developed for any age group, really. It was just a creative place to jot down your thoughts. And I wanted that to also be recycled paper, and then I found tree-free pencils. So really everything down to the last detail was sustainable. So that was my focus for that project. So I'm really excited to present that.
Absolutely, and I think that really is an ideal progression of academic work to professional engagement to opportunities to really highlight what is possible in this new sort of not completely yet charted digital realm, because this
Right.
conference will be online, and that's a way that all of us need to become really comfortable promoting ourselves, interacting with others, and taking those tangibles and
Right.
showing what is possible. And
Yeah.
so I know that that's going to be something to look forward to, and I hope that the session will be recorded and also shared as a demonstration of the possibilities when you marry your academic coursework and professional interests as successfully as you have done.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and talking about this with us.
Absolutely.